Welcome back, everybody. This is Rafa, and again, I'm with Roland Achenjang, and we are continuing our fun and enlightening conversation about purpose, about the mind, about we talked a little bit about food as well, about life in general, and we were just making talking a little bit. I mean, before we started right now. On this idea that you ended with of the limits of the rational mind, and I think it would be cool to like hop on in that train of thought.
Yeah. So again, I just want to preface by saying everything that I am sharing is my perspective, and it's been significantly shifted after 2018, when I had what many people refer to as a Kundalini awakening. I say that, or a spiritually transformative experience as a result of years of meditating. But the rational mind is really part of the ego. It's part of the limited self. I'm sure if you're somebody who listens to Rafa, you've probably heard him or maybe one of his other guests say something like, we aren't humans having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And if you think about both, the spiritual beingness is sort of this infinite self that you are, where there is just no end to your beingness. Even in the Catholic teachings, we talk about your soul living forever after your physical body dies, right? There's that same sort of understanding there in some of the Catholic prayers, forever and ever, world without end. So it's that awareness that there is no end to you. And so if you think about what aspect of you really takes advantage of logic, it's not your soul per se. It's not your infinite self. It's your finite self that has created logic, and it's an outcome of you trying to make sense of a world where you feel like you have been left by yourself, or abandoned essentially, and you have to survive. And so you're coming up with all these reasons, which is logic. You're coming up with all these reasons that will support your ability to survive. If I wear clothes, I'll stay warm and it make me live longer. If I wear clothes, I'll look good and it might help me attract somebody that I am interested in. But if you are paying really close attention to all your logic, eventually it's going to fail you. It always will fail you. And when it fails you, that's your sort of call to awakening or call to conscious expansion, where you now create a new logic that will say, oh, if I wear nice clothes, here's a classic one. If I get that job, I'll be so happy, right? Or if that girl would date me or marry me, I'll be so happy. Then you marry them and you're not happy. You get that job and you're not happy. Again, that's a logic at play. That's its role. It's designed to fail you. And the more times you fail by relying on logic, the more it's going to push you to question, like, but what else is there? And that's where, at least with my spiritual awakening, I use the word spirituality comes in, when you remember that that's logic's role. Logic's, it's just a limited, temporary way for you to make sense of your reality and to justify your actions. Soon enough, you're going to have to expand it and then incorporate a logic that you are eliminating because of your own, right? Like if you say, if I wear nice clothes, I'm going to get the mate that I'm interested in. Eventually you're going to say, oh, it's not necessarily the nice clothes that's going to get her. It's way more than that, right? And when that fails you, you're going to say, okay, maybe it's not just nice clothes. What is it? My personality? Is it money? Is it that I come from the same country like she does? Like, it's so many things. And so the article that I shared in the previous conversation kind of speaks to that, where, yeah, your logical mind will fail you, and it's actually failing so that your true self emerges. Yeah. yeah, that's my understanding there.
That's
Today.
beautiful. I really like that perspective, like seeing it as a tool that is meant for a certain job, and when it exceeds its job, then it's when people could say, oh yeah, materialism or rationality or scientism is bad. But it's like, well, yeah, if you use a hammer to put a window, you're probably gonna break the glass, and you're gonna say, oh, this hammer sucks. But I mean,
Yeah.
the tool is meant to do a particular job, and I like how you're putting it. It brings lots of clarity of what its role is, and when used correctly, that is, I guess, to ask questions, and yeah, to ask questions, and then just be open and receptive to whatever the universe brings back. Before we finished the first part, I was thinking, like, I want to make the podcast more practical. I love speaking about ideas, and I was thinking, when we are, let me see, how can I put this? So the rational mind, okay? We ask questions, then we listen for answers from the universe, which are not going to come in a rational language, of course. The soul speaks in a more kind of poetic language, and I'm trying to bring back the idea that I was talking about, that I had this thing in the end of the first part, but it's just not coming.
It's not coming. Oh
no,
no,
it's not. I'm like
sorry.
tracing back my steps.
Yeah.
But in the end, I was pointing towards practicality, and how can we make this spiritual thing into a more practical thing for people. How can we, how can we remember, and also this idea of the tool being used for the right purpose. So what are these questions that we should be asking? For example, let me just here, the other day I did this. I'm starting to be more comfortable with making shows by myself and sharing my own thoughts without a second person here, which is an interesting experience for me. Mm-hmm. And I did one on enlightenment and what the great masters of all ages say about it. I'll try to see if I can link to the video as well here. And I had this one from Ramana Maharshi, this quote that really stuck with me, that says, the greatest obstacle to enlightenment is getting past your delusion that you are not already enlightened.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I had a similar post on my social media channel that said the exact same thing in different words. It was, stop worrying about being enlightened. You already are enlightened. You just do not remember, right? And that's a big piece of what it means to be human. And so in trying to make spirituality practical, let me try to see if I can answer a good example. The easiest way, not the easiest way, the easiest thing you can do, which is not an easy thing to do, the easiest thing you can do is unconditionally love what is. So it's to be okay with your beingness. Like when I say okay, I really mean unconditionally love. Love every aspect of who you are and everything that you're seeing. And once if you can get to a point, by the way, that's way more difficult than it sounds, right? Because
it's a practice, of course.
Yeah, it's a practice.
Ramdas said, be here now, which I think points to the same thing.
Essentially, you have to get to a point where you need to sort of trust that the creator of all things that you believe in, if you want to call him God, knows what they're doing. Many times in our ego, we say, oh, life is so not the way it needs to be. I need to change it. I need to control. I need to be in charge. I mean, I didn't create the universe. I didn't create the planet Earth. But if I did, this would not be like this. This person would not say this. Yeah.
But this is my
right?
life. And yeah, I'm going to use this hammer to put up that window. Correct. Yeah.
Exactly. And you have to get to a point somehow where you're comfortable with the ebbs and flows of life. That's practical spirituality. And then the other thing is, okay, if you think about the fact that you are human right now, right? Remembering what I said earlier, being human is experiencing life in a limited form. There's a very big reason why you did that, right? Because let's just say, for the sake of logic, let's think about logic, okay? This is why I say logic will fail you. I was raised Catholic, and the teachings are such that God created us and he sent us to this planet. And then Adam and Eve got into trouble, and now we all have to suffer from it. But when we come here, God is mad at us. And so part of our suffering means we have to discover a savior. And we have to live the way that savior instructs us to live and not stray from it at all. And then we have to go through certain, religious sacraments and rituals like baptism, First Holy Communion, confirmation, etc. And then we have to periodically go for forgiveness, go talk to a priest when we've sinned. And we're doing all of this so that when we, quote unquote, die, we go back to that creator. We don't go back to some other place, which is not the creator's place. It's the creator's enemy. And that enemy is somehow so powerful that it's almost equal to the creator. But the creator created that enemy, right? Satan is a fallen angel. The creator created that enemy. And now if we don't do what the creator says, which, right, we weren't even, you could argue like, well, I was not part of whatever happened between you and Satan. If you're God, why am I involved in this? Like, why am I being punished for what Adam and Eve did? Like, why are you mad at me? I was not there. So if you use logic, you can see how it's going to fail you quickly. And then this whole story and scenario of how you're supposed to live your life, at least in my mind, does not work out. Plus, you think, if the creator is unconditionally loving, why would he punish you eternally for the rest of your life for doing certain things that as a human are almost unavoidable? And then you think, if the creator created everything, including so-called this fallen angel, it would have been so much easier logically to just eliminate that angel. But no, let's keep him, and then let's create a savior, and let's kill that savior and let everybody worship that. So once you start getting into logic, you see that it's going to fail you, right? It's going to fail. It's going to fail somewhere. But the beauty of logic is it helps your ego temporarily make sense of reality until you have to transcend it. And so a practical thing you can do, honestly, I like meditating, is also meditating on everything that you think makes logical sense, and ask yourself, is there more to it? Is there more to it? Does it make sense? And then ask yourself, the people that don't agree with you logically, right? The people who are vehemently against Christianity, or who say Christianity is not true, or even people within Christianity who have started different churches, whether it's Baptist or whatever. I know I'm using religion as an example here because it seems to be a very good teachable subject. Just ask yourself, like, why do they believe something differently? And are you right? And are they wrong? And what does that mean? And if you can sit and ask that, and then just have your logical mind step aside for a bit to see what comes through, something will come through. Unfortunately, as a human, you're still going to try to make logic sense of it. It's still going to limit you. It's the beauty, right? And do that, and eventually you're going to be able to transcend beyond it. And then you're going to be okay knowing that the logical mind is limited. You're working with a limited mind. So is everybody on this planet. But you are here for a reason that maybe you're not supposed to know. And then even if you do know, or you figured out that you know why you're here, are you living out those reasons that you're comfortable with yourself? Are you saying, oh, I'm here for this and I'm really doing it? You know what I mean? Like, can you honestly look at yourself in the mirror and say that? So I've said a lot. They're pretty deep topics, but essentially it will always drive you back to being okay with just being, knowing that you are loved unconditionally. You can't do anything wrong, really. You're going to detour. You're an infinite thing having a finite experience. It's limited. And so enjoy working with the limitations for a temporary time, for another limited time until you go back. Enjoy as much as you can. Be open-minded as much as you can, right? Have that conversation with a dog and your neighbor and the trees outside. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your questions about practical ways. It's
Yeah,
still really asked. Yeah.
that's beautiful. I love it. Of course, like we unconditionally loving what is definitely a practice, and for the rational mind, it can become a very intricate kind of practice. It doesn't need to, but for some time, I guess the mind will start. Okay, I'm going to love everything that happens or everything that is unconditionally. Okay, starting right now. Okay, so something happens that I don't like. Okay, I'm gonna love that unconditionally, but I'm still angry that happened. Okay, now I gotta be unconditionally loving towards my anger. That gets a little bit more subtle and like recursive, and now I'm mad that I can't be angry. No, I can be angry, but I can also accept that I'm angry. And what I think this process starts doing is again what the Betty's book is talking about, and this thing that I'm also trying to share about the remembrance is that we are not just what are we when we say I? You know, Ramana Maharshi says, okay, you are already enlightened. Okay, but this body and mind here, I can tell you it's not already enlightened, but I am not only this. You are not only this. What is it that we're talking about? What we're doing with this process of unconditionally loving what is we are, the way that I see it, or I get it like very visually, we are like separating or expanding our identity from, we have the first person perspective, which is the identity, the body mind, and then we are kind of expanding it, or this point of focus is like now moving, I call it backwards or upwards or whatever, it's moving backwards onto the witness of everything that's happening. So, okay, there's anger, but there's also something that is aware of the anger. Okay, try to stay more, that is my practice, is trying to, is staying more in that place of stillness that can accept unconditionally whatever is happening. And I see this like a kind of, you know, like chewing gum, when you can stretch it. So I feel like the identity stretching back, and then something that I am not loving unconditionally yet comes up, and the thing comes back. It snaps right back, and it's like a continuous repetition of this exercise, kind of going to the gym. So reps, and through time, and you can assist that process with meditation, because it's like, okay, I'm going to sit down here for a while and just observe whatever comes up and accept it. So it's a beautiful practice. And yeah, so I love that you shared that. You know, and normally, maybe if I was asked that question, maybe the first thing that would come up is, okay, so practical, okay, meditate, But then again, people are not comfortable always. Some people are not comfortable with meditation, or at least in the traditional sense. But when you do this practice, you are meditating, and you can be washing the dishes, you can be walking in the street, talking to the neighbor, and whatever, and still be like present in two places at the same time, you know, or looking at the experience from two perspectives at once, which sounds cool.
It does sound cool,
That we
man.
can do that.
Yeah. So Rafa, you bring up a good point about meditating, and it's part of the marketing and conditioning that you think that many people might think meditating is sitting down with your legs crossed in the lotus position with your back erect, eyes kind of closed, focus on your third eye, chanting or something like that, right? Or going through a mantra. Many people I've talked to, many people in healthcare here in the United States, like I am, or even people that I grew up with back home in Cameroon, or family members of mine, when I talk about meditating, that's what they're thinking. And because they did not grow up with that sort of experience as is traditionally, marketed or shown from the East, they think I can't do it for so many reasons, including one being it's against my religion to meditate. And I just think, okay, cool. That, like, my perspective is not the same, but it's another perspective, and I'm learning to be appreciative of it. And that's where education comes in. And you can't really force educate somebody who doesn't want to learn. But for the people who are open-minded, who say, I wish to meditate, but I can't, I want to say, just like you said, everyone can meditate, because at its core, meditating is taking advantage of what makes you human. That is to say, your ability to breathe, your ability to think, your ability to feel. Every meditation practice is kind of boiled down to those three things. You're working with your mind so that you are observing your thinking, per se, or you're working with your mind so that you are having it do what it wants you to do, or what you want it to do, essentially, right? And remember, I'm purposefully not using the word control. You're working with, because your mind is a unique expression of the creator. It has its own intelligence. It's there for a reason. And so the better you get at working with it as a tool, then now you can create a magical meditation experience. We've used the hammer many times in this conversation. For example, you could take a hammer and hit yourself in the head all you want, or you can take it and nail some wood together and make a very beautiful table. So your mind is a tool. And when you meditate, you learn to work with your mind. And then you can have, like I said, an amazing meditation session. That's using logic to explain. Yeah, cool.
That's great. I love it. Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
Sorry, the other thing that involves meditating is sensing. We have all the senses. We can touch, we can taste, we can smell, we can see, we can hear. Meditating is about working with your senses to enhance your ability to sense. So you don't have to just sit and not do anything. You can decide to cook. And that could be a deeply meditative experience when you're tasting the soup that you're making. You're putting all the vegetables in there. You're adding different spices so that it comes out tasting as hearty and looking as just glycering and brown the way you like. And then you take a bite and you feel all the cold of this winter is gone because I just took a bite of my soup, homemade, right? That's meditating. The other one, and this is my favorite, is working with your breathing. You're going to hear of pranayama. There's so many different ways you can breathe. You can do double breaths. You can hold your breath. You can breathe really deep, for long periods of times. But why it's so fascinating is because when you were first born on this planet, when you arrived here, when your soul incarnated in a physical body that was born, the first thing it did was take a breath. It went, inhaled, announced to the entire universe that it was now here participating in the Earth life experience. And then after that announcement, it started to cry to let everybody know that it's really here. And so the medical doctors were like, oh, the midwife, the people who were there when you were being born, like, the baby is alive. The baby's doing what it needs to do. The baby's breathing and crying, making noise. Good. Healthy baby, clean her up, cut the umbilical cord. But ever since then, the only thing I would say the most vital thing that has been keeping you alive and continuing to animate your body is your ability to breathe. Once you stop breathing, everyone says you're dead, you're gone. We put you in the ground and then we say we'll see you when we get back to the other side. Some people cry, some people are, I shouldn't say this, some people would be happy if certain people die. Like, thank God the person's dead. But even in the medical community, we appreciate how important your breathing is. And so think about it. You can go hours without eating. You can go hours without drinking. You can even go days without doing both, without taking a shower. But you can't do that without breathing. So when you meditate, to have an experience where you really get in touch with your physical body and also your higher self that's helping you do this sort of breathing and experience this reality, play and work and get to know what your breath does for you. Allow it to do its breathing by itself or work with it. Force the air out of one nostril or the other one, out of your mouth, out of your ears if you can, out of your butt if you fart. Like all of that is breathing, right? That's all breathing. It's all energy or energy exchange through air. And that ability, your body knows how to do it very well. So a really simple meditation would be to have the intention to just sit and allow yourself to observe how your body is taking care of itself by breathing. It does it. You go the whole day without paying attention to your breath. And we take about 24,000 on average breaths a day. And we pay attention to none, except when we're sick or really tired or right before we go to bed, we go, okay, good night, honey. And then we sleep. So that's like, or when we're angry or anxious. But your body's doing that all day, every day. So sit and observe it. And that right there is meditating. And so it's not only the traditional sitting with the third eye. It doesn't only have to, okay, when I say it doesn't have to be a spiritual practice, I catch myself because everything is a spiritual practice. But yeah, meditating is not as complicated as many people make it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I love the practice. And if you look at where I came from, Cameroon, how I was raised, I was not raised and exposed to meditation at all. So the fact that I stumbled upon it by mistake, I just decided that I would lay in my bed and listen to my body. And then stuff started happening. I started going out of body. I started seeing lights in my third eye, just weird things that going to business school never taught me, going to professional healthcare school never taught me. And then I'm learning about chakras as a result of just paying attention to my breathing, learning about out of body experiences. Like there's a huge amount of conscious expansion that happens when you allow your body to do what it knows how to do best. That's take care of itself, which is what I did. Then I had the awakening. It totally changed my life. No one taught me. I didn't go to a teacher. I didn't go to a guru. It's all self-taught. And so anybody who works with me, which you can, if you go to my website, you can schedule a free consult, or I can help you develop what I call an effective meditating practice. I tell them the exact same thing. It involves three, just your senses, your breathing, your ability to think.
That
so
was
it's practical.
a beautiful way of explaining meditation. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
it. This has been an amazing conversation. I know you have a certain limit of time, and I want to respect that.
We can keep going.
Okay.
We'll go for another 10 minutes until we get Zoom doesn't want us to talk today. This is some bizarre stuff.
It's weird that third time it comes up. And but I was thinking, that this has been a great conversation. I'm loving every moment of it. We had a lot of fun at the start, just having this. It's nice, I generally kind of jump right into the more like esoteric things and the more woo-woo stuff. And this conversation was different. We spoke a little bit about food and about our where we come from and all that stuff. It was a very fun way of doing the thing. And I'm very curious. Maybe so. I want to extend an invitation for you to come back, because this was I had a great time, and maybe next time we can talk a little bit about your awakening experience. and we can share stories. We can I can tell you about myself.
Yeah, I
And
would love to be back, Rafa. I would.
yeah,
I like having these conversations. They're great, and I think even for me, just as a side note, is when I started meditating, and we'll talk about this more. But when I started meditating and having those experiences, they freaked me out. I was really scared and worried because nothing prepared me for it. Nothing, and everything that I was exposed to made me believe that
yeah,
I had done something bad. That's why this was happening to me, And what kept me calm was the fact that I could go on YouTube and watch other people's videos and then also research on the internet. And then I finally began to remember that, oh, this is normal. People have been having these experiences for as long as we've been on the planet. Like if you think about how much technology has changed, how religions have changed, how teaching has changed, the one thing that hasn't is the human's ability to breathe, which is like the foundation of every meditation practice is breathing. So the sages from way back when and up to even today are still relying on breathing to animate a physical body. So there's something very powerful to that. And whether or not you like religion, whatever politics, whatever country you're from, by gosh, you're breathing. So there's something to it.
yeah. And the etymology of the word spirit is breath. So that comes, I think it comes from Latin. So yeah,
Yeah.
to
In
breathe.
spiritu.
Yeah, exactly. In Spanish,
Yeah.
when we inhale, we can say inhalar, but we can also say inspirar.
Inspira.
And
Yeah.
inspiration. There we have inspiration as well.
There we have
So
inspiration. Yeah.
that's
I know.
amazing about language, how it ties all the knots when you go into the etymology. You were saying something?
Oh no, I was going to say I was aware of spirit and in spirit, and that being sort of the root word for inspiration. When you're inspired, that means you are living in spirit. I wasn't aware, but now I am. Right, inspire. That's the respire, kind of like that's breathing. And so that's cool.
Yeah.
I just think it's nice that you talk to all these people,
Yeah.
guys who are researching.
What does God do when he creates Adam? He breathes the breath of life into him. So it's
Adam.
breath
Yeah.
from start to finish. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, here's something I can leave as we're ending and wrapping up here for your viewers to think about. And I'd love to see comments about this, right? In the Bible, just something to think, it's logic. They say in the beginning was the word. But if you think about how religions or even how language has evolved over time, what language was God using to create? Was it English? Was it Spanish? Was it French? Was it Latin or Italian? Because it says in the beginning was the word, and the word was God. And then God said, let there be light. But how did he say it, or it, or she? And then if you think, I was talking with Randy about this, and he said, if you also think where there is nothing, if it's just void, you cannot transmute sound, because sound needs a medium. So let's just assume that, okay, there was a language that God spoke, and that word, like the word existed. And you ask yourself, how was that word transmuted? Because there's no medium. Okay, it's just something. It's just like something to think about logically. Like, okay, how did that work?
I like the question. I'm thinking logos, right? I think it's kind of connected with the word. I think it's sometimes translated as the logos, and that resonates a little bit with logic. So
there you go.
It's got to do with thought and imagination and inspiration. Yeah, it's like an idea expressed in breath, something like that.
Yeah. So maybe it even wasn't the word. Maybe it was just in the beginning was thought. And I know you've interviewed Jim McCarty from The Law of One. I've had him on my podcast or my YouTube show as well. But yeah, Rod talks about it in that everything's just as thought. It wasn't that in the beginning. Maybe in the beginning it wasn't the word. Maybe it was just thought, right? And the thought was probably translated into English awareness. It was awareness. It was I'm aware that I am. Like I'm aware that I am. And then the next thought was, well, if I am, what does that mean? And what else can I be?
Mm.
And that's all of reality is basically this thought saying I am, and what does that mean? What else? Anyway.
Yeah. I actually, I love Jim. He's coming back very soon. I have several conversations with him, and we're talking again this month. And yeah, thank you, Roland. Thank you, Roland, so much. I didn't know that you were. For a moment during the conversation, I think you mentioned one of the terms from the Law of One, and I thought, oh, the Law of One. And now you're mentioning that you've spoken with Jim. So yeah, you see, we have something else in common that we can talk about next time.
We do. Yeah. I have Jim, he actually lives about 20 minutes away from me.
Wow, really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Not,
Have you ever been to one of the channeling sessions?
no, with COVID, it's not open to the public yet, but I've been in talk with him about attending one.
Yeah, me too, but I'm so far.
Yeah.
I've asked if I can participate via Zoom, but they just do it in person. So yeah, that's another reason to go there to meet you and to go to the channeling
Law of
session.
One stuff.
Wow,
Yeah,
that
no,
would be amazing to participate in that.
Yeah, I've never been to one. I think it would be great. I know you can send questions in, just FYI. So if you have questions, you can send and they'll ask Quo or whoever they're channeling at that point in time. Yeah, small world, man.
That's fantastic. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being there with us. You can find Roland on his website, rolandachenjang.com, correct?
Absolutely.
I'll be sharing links to that down there and to the article that you shared on the limits of the rational mind, which is so cool. And yeah, I invite you to check out her book, Betty Kovac's book. Another thing we can talk about next time, Merchants of Light. The subtitle is The Consciousness That Is Changing the World. I'm like, I still haven't finished it, but I'm underlining the parts that I like of the book, and it's like every page is like almost 90% underlined, because everything is like, oh yeah, totally, yes. No, this is fantastic book for me, and I'm very happy that you were here. Very happy to meet you, and very happy to share this beautiful conversation with everybody over there.
Yeah, likewise. Love your accent, love your energy, love the work that you're doing. Can't wait to be back, Rafa.
Awesome,
that's for
cool.
sure.
All right, let's talk again. And you can find me on Instagram, like I said on the other video, @manrafa. I welcome everybody to join the Patreon and to just check out. There's so many different videos on spirituality, extraterrestrials, etc. Magic, I don't know. So go ahead and have fun with everything. Yeah. So bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Rafa. Thank you.
Thank you.